This is Dave Jones, California's Insurance Commissioner, and we are joined today by a number of members of the media who are on a phone line with us, so hopefully they can hear us speaking. At the end of the press conference, we'll have an opportunity to take questions. We'll ask that people identify themselves, and we'll take questions first from those in the room, and then we'll take questions from those on the phone. I'm here today to make a very important announcement. This is the first public announcement with regard to this lawsuit. It's an announcement to which all Californians should pay very close attention. As part of a scheme to increase sales of its drugs, Bristol-Myers Squibb, one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the United States of America, systematically and unlawfully attempted to buy off doctors to prescribe its drugs. To address this reprehensible conduct, today I am intervening in an insurance whistleblower action against Bristol-Myers Squibb. This suit is the largest health insurance fraud case ever pursued by any California state agency. To provide you with some context, former employees of Bristol-Myers, Mr. Michael Wilson, Mr. Lucius Allen, and Ms. Eve Allen filed a whistleblower lawsuit under seal in the Superior Court in Los Angeles, alleging that Bristol-Myers bribed doctors to prescribe drugs. The suit alleges that Bristol-Myers instructed its sales representatives to court doctors with sports tickets, fancy meals, honoraria, all expense-paid trips, trips to resorts, and gifts to induce them to prescribe Bristol-Myers drugs. Just to give you a flavor of what we're talking about here, a Bristol-Myers Squibb sales plan called Rounding Up the Docs, quote unquote, instructs Bristol-Myers Squibb sales representatives at dinner events with the physicians to, quote unquote, gain commitment to prescribe in specific patient types. It goes on to direct these sales representatives to, quote, monitor the weekly number of new prescriptions by the doctors, to make reports, and to monitor weekly prescriber reports to evaluate the success of this scheme. And then to hold these customers, these physicians, accountable. Bristol-Myers Squibb meant that if the physician did not increase their prescriptions, the sales representative was to warn them that they would no longer receive samples, and that the sales representative would reduce the number of gifts to the physicians and reduce or cut invitations to dinner events, trips to resorts, and other gifts. Bristol-Myers Squibb sometimes referred to these tactics as shaking the doctors down. In just one of numerous examples that are set forth in the complaint, a dinner was scheduled at the Katana restaurant here in the Los Angeles area. A physician was invited to speak about a particular pharmaceutical drug offered by Bristol-Myers Squibb. The doctor did not speak at the dinner, and yet he received a $2,500 honoraria. Typically, these dinners included other physicians whose meals were covered and who also received honoraria for attending. These are just some examples of the way in which this scheme operated. The goal of the scheme was to increase prescriptions of Bristol-Myers Squibb drugs, which private health insurers and ultimately the public in California end up paying for. This kind of fraud has long plagued our health insurance system, leading to billions of dollars annually in additional costs and premiums. Besides the obvious and deplorable ethical violations in such cases, healthcare fraud also leads to higher premiums for consumers and an unnecessary and unjust increase in health care costs. We need to be sure that doctors are prescribing drugs because those drugs are medically necessary and not because a pharmaceutical company offers them kickbacks, gifts, and honoraria. These illegal practices only serve to drive up the cost of health insurance for millions of Californians. As Insurance Commissioner, I'm committed to using the full resources of this office to make sure that we root out fraud wherever it occurs. To the best of our knowledge, this kickback scheme may continue in existence. The period of time covered specifically in the complaint is 1999 to 2005, but as we move forward with discovery, we will expand the focus of the complaint accordingly. We look forward to resolution of this matter by jury trial here in the Superior Court of Los Angeles. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions from those in the room first, and then we'll move to those who are on the phone.
Commissioner John North, ABC 7. Now, you're talking about all these docs prescribing things because they've elicited a bribe. Have any of the docs been charged? Have they been brought up on charges or taken to the proper authorities?
The focus of this complaint, brought initially by the whistleblowers themselves, is the pharmaceutical company. And that's the focus of the department's complaint as well. This pharmaceutical company has spent a lot of money inducing physicians to make prescriptions that they might not otherwise have made. And so we think it's very important to go to the source of the problem and make sure we root out the problem at its source.
You don't think the doctors did anything wrong then?
Again, the focus of this complaint is on the behavior.
But I'm asking you about going after the doctors. Certainly you've got 15,000 people that you identified.
Again, the focus of our complaint is on the pharmaceutical company itself. The focus of this department is on the source of fraud. And we believe, in this instance, the source of fraud is the pharmaceutical company.
Is there going to be any referring this to any criminal agencies, the DA's office, the Attorney General's office, if there's illegal activity? Are they looking into this?
This matter was referred to and reviewed by the district attorney under the state whistleblower statute in the insurance code. Both the Department of Insurance and the local DA looks at the underlying complaint while it's under seal. I want to stress that this is the first time this complaint has been made public. We just unsealed the complaint. So prior to this, there's been no public indication of this complaint. The district attorney took a look at the complaint, decided not to intervene. In the course of our investigation, if we discover any criminal activity, we will refer that to our fraud criminal investigative unit and investigate it as well, and then refer it to the appropriate criminal prosecutorial office. But at this point, the complaint is civil in nature. Any other questions from members of the media who are in the room at this point? Sure.
The activity in the complaint, you said it may be continuing until today. Could you clarify that? And so what sort of activity?
One of the allegations in the complaint is that the company has continued to induce prescriptions based on gifts of the kind that are discussed in the complaint as recently as 2011. So while the focus of the complaint is from the period of 1999 to 2005, as we move forward with the discovery, if we find specific instances of the behavior continuing after 2005, then that will be added to the complaint as well.
And is there any indication that that activity is continuing until current time?
We have some information that as late as January of 2011, there was some continued behavior in this regard. But the evidence focused on in the complaint is the period from 1999 to 2005. And I also want to add that the federal government, in a separate action, as noted on the chart here, brought a case against Bristol-Myers Squibb for defrauding the federal Medicare and Medicaid programs. Our complaint is focused on the issue of fraud against private insurers. That's the jurisdiction of this department. But the federal government had jurisdiction with regard to similar fraudulent practices that defrauded the federal Medicare and Medicaid program. And as the chart indicates, in 2007, Bristol-Myers Squibb settled with the federal government in the amount of $515 million for defrauding those two programs.
So the doctors were being urged to write more prescriptions for the Bristol-Myers drugs. Is there any indication that they were for bogus conditions, bogus diagnoses?
That's one of the things we're going to be looking at as we move forward with discovery in the case. But there's no question that based on the information and observations of the complainants, that is the three individuals that I identified who were the whistleblowers themselves, who were employees of Bristol-Myers Squibb, that there was a very direct effort on the part of the company to track the prescription writing of the physicians, to reward high prescribers of Bristol-Myers Squibb drugs, to ignore those that were low prescribers unless they were able to induce them to be high prescribers, and then to threaten those who were not prescribing sufficiently or were high prescribers and they were stopping prescribing with the loss of the gifts, the honoraria, the trips, and so forth. So it's a direct quid pro quo with regard to the provision of these kickbacks to those physicians who are engaged in high prescriptions, high level of prescriptions.
Any evidence that this might have had an adverse health effect on patients?
I don't know at this point whether we can say or not it had an adverse health effect. Certainly as we go through discovery, we'll have an opportunity to look at that question. But the reporting of the company itself, the tracking of the volume of prescriptions, indicates that after gifts were given, prescriptions would go up. They described it in their own internal documents, that is the company's documents, as return on investment. So as they were directing their sales representatives to engage in this behavior and providing monies to physicians in various ways through the gifts, through honoraria, through trips to resorts, through golf outings, through basketball camps, through samba lessons, you name it. The company itself was tracking the level of prescriptions that were occurring and aligning its gifts accordingly.
So you're going to be looking at whether or not these prescriptions were for valid medical conditions as well as you get into this further?
I think what we're focusing on is the underlying behavior between the company and the physicians, and that is the utilization of gifts and kickbacks to induce physicians to make prescriptions. That's the focus of the complaint.
Do you know if anyone's going to be looking at the doctors to determine whether their behavior was illegal or their activity was illegal?
Obviously, if there's any other illegal behavior that becomes known to us in the course of discovery and moving forward in this case, then we will refer that to the appropriate regulatory authorities. We don't have jurisdiction per se over physicians. There are licensing bodies that do, but the focus of this complaint at this time is on the pharmaceutical company.
So isn't a kickback a bribe? I mean, you don't have any authority, any jurisdiction in a case like that where they're bribing the docs?
Again, we think that the moving party here with regard to the bribe was the pharmaceutical company, and that's who we're focusing on. Let me see if there are any questions from those who are on the radio.
Thank you.
Did I say radio? On the phone.
Thank you. If you have a question, please press star then 1 on your touchtone phone. If you wish to be removed from the queue, please press the pound sign or the hash key. Once again, if you have a question, please press star then 1 on your touchtone phone. We have a question from Mandy Jackson from Los Angeles Daily. Please go ahead.
Yes, can you repeat the names of the complainants, and also will a copy of the complaint be available to those of us who are removed?
Yes, we can provide you with a copy of the complaint. The name of the complainants are Michael Wilson, Lucius Allen, and Eve Allen. And they were all employed by Bristol-Myers Squibb essentially as sales representatives whose job it was to, through the use of these kickbacks, induce physicians to write more prescriptions of Bristol-Myers Squibb's pharmaceuticals.
The next question comes from Bob Jablon from the Associated Press. Please go ahead.
Yes. How much are you asking for, and what is your estimate of the cost to insurers from this particular thing? Also, I have a second question, which is when the original suit was filed and why it took so long for the state to join it.
The original suit was filed in 2007. The suit is under seal at that point of time, and the government then has the opportunity to look at the allegations that are made in the suit, independently evaluate them, and make a determination, and that's what we've done here. The amount of damages that are sought and penalties are not specified because we need to go through discovery to identify the full volume of claims that were made fraudulently as a result of this kickback. But I think it's important to understand there are essentially three elements to the damages. One is penalties, and for each fraudulent prescription, if you will, civil penalties of $10,000 on each one can be imposed. In addition, the government and the whistleblowers are entitled to receive damages equal to the disgorgement of unlawful profits that the company made as a result of its fraudulent activity. In addition, treble damages are available as well. That is 3 times the amount of the funds that are disgorged from the company is a possible damage award also.
Sorry, so any amount at all, millions, trillions, billions?
Well, I think it's instructive to note that the federal government, in its lawsuit, settled for $515 million, and so I think that's some sense of the magnitude. We think that there were at least 15,000 kickbacks paid during the period from 1999 to 2005. So if you multiply 15,000 by 10,000, you come up with a number. We also know that in 2010 alone, private insurers paid nearly $440 million for the kinds of drugs that were identified in the complaint as having been prescribed as a result of this illegal kickback scheme. So that's a 2010 figure. It's an annual figure, but it gives you some order of magnitude with regard to the monetary value of the drugs that are the focus of this complaint.
Thank you.
Other questions on the phone?
Once again, for any questions, please press star then 1 at this time. Sir, at this time it looks like we have no further questions.
Okay, any other questions in the room? All right, thank you very, very much. If there are additional questions, please direct them to either Byron Tucker or Yanni Kazenas, and those who wish to have a copy of the complaint, we're happy to provide a copy to you. Thank you very much for your attention to this important story.